Let's dive straight in.
SeaWorld Orlando, February 24th, 2010. SeaWorld Orlando, Florida.
It was just after lunch at SeaWorld. Trainer Dawn Brancho, 40, was wrapping up the Dine with Shamu show. The killer whale in the tank, Tilikum, weighed over 12,000 pounds, the biggest orca in captivity. He'd already been linked to 2 previous deaths, but the park still used him in shows. Around 1:38 p.m., Dawn knelt beside the tank, face-to-face with Tilikum. Guests nearby were finishing dessert when the orca suddenly grabbed her ponytail and yanked her straight into the water. The crowd thought it was part of the act. It wasn't. Tilikum dragged her deep, thrashing her like a rag doll. Alarms blared. Trainers threw nets and food to distract him, but he wouldn't let go. The struggle went on for more than 30 minutes. When staff finally retrieved her body, she'd died from drowning and multiple fractures. SeaWorld shut down that day. The investigation found major safety failures. Trainers weren't supposed to be that close. OSHA fined SeaWorld, and direct contact with orcas was permanently banned. Tilikum spent the rest of his life isolated until dying in 2017 from infection. Blunt ending: a whale with a violent record killed again, and the park that owned him kept it quiet until it was too late.
Harambe at Cincinnati Zoo, May 28th, 2016. Cincinnati Zoo, Ohio.
It was Memorial Day weekend. Crowds packed the Cincinnati Zoo. Around 4 p.m., a mom turned around and her 3-year-old son was gone. Seconds later, people were screaming. The kid had climbed into the gorilla enclosure and fallen 10 feet into the moat. Inside was Harambe, a 17-year-old, 440-pound silverback. At first, he just watched the boy. Then the crowd noise made him tense. He grabbed the child's leg and dragged him through the water, hard. Zookeepers tried shouting, luring him with food. Nothing worked. Within minutes, the zoo's dangerous animal response team showed up. They had one call to make: tranquilize or shoot. A tranquilizer takes 5 minutes to work, way too long with a kid in danger. At 4:17 p.m., a rifle cracked. Harambe dropped instantly. The child was pulled out alive, only bruised. The video went viral within hours. The internet exploded. Protests, memes, debates about human fault versus animal rights. But the zoo stood by the decision. They said it was simple. A human life was in immediate danger. Afterward, Cincinnati Zoo reinforced its barriers and banned public feeding areas. One kid got curious. One gorilla got defensive. And one bullet turned into the most viral animal story of the decade.
Tiger attack at San Francisco Zoo, December 25th, 2007. San Francisco Zoo, California.
Christmas Day, 5 p.m. The San Francisco Zoo was winding down. 3 young men, Carlos Souza Jr., 17, and brothers Kulbir and Paul Dhaliwal, 19 and 23, were hanging near the tiger enclosure. Inside was Tatiana, a 350-pound Siberian tiger. A few minutes later, visitors heard screaming. Tatiana had jumped out of her exhibit over a 12.5-foot wall. The zoo thought that was tall enough. It wasn't. She went straight for the group, clawing and biting. Carlos took the worst of it, mauled to death before anyone could reach him. The brothers ran through the zoo, bleeding, trying to find help. They made it to the cafe area, where they shouted for someone to call 911. Police arrived within minutes. Tatiana was still stalking them. They opened fire, killing her with several shots near the giraffe exhibit. Later, investigators found footprints and sticks near the tiger pit, signs the men might have been taunting her, even throwing objects. But the zoo was also at fault. The barrier was too low and safety protocols hadn't been updated in years. End result: 1 dead visitor, 2 injured, 1 dead tiger. The zoo quietly rebuilt the enclosure, raising the walls to 16 feet. Christmas at the zoo ended with blood on the sidewalk and a SWAT team inside a tiger cage.
Bear attack in Siberian Circus, October 25th, 2019. Olonets, Russia.
It was a small-town circus inside a packed gym in Olonets, Russia. Kids filled the front rows. The act was a brown bear named Yasha, trained to push a wheelbarrow across the ring. No cage, no barrier, just two handlers and a leash. Halfway through the show, the bear stopped. The trainer tapped him with a stick, trying to make him move. Yasha turned, growled, then charged. He knocked the trainer to the ground, biting his neck and shoulder while the audience screamed. People grabbed their kids and ran for the exits. Another worker hit the bear with a metal bar. Nothing. The attack kept going until someone hit Yasha with a stun gun. The trainer survived, but with severe bite wounds and broken bones. Cell phone videos hit the internet that night. No barrier, no warning, just raw chaos. The clip went viral. Local officials immediately banned wild animal acts in Karelia, the region where it happened. But the circus itself just kept touring under a new name. It was a short, ugly reminder. You can dress a bear in a hat and teach it to dance, but it's still a 700-pound predator waiting for one bad second.
Chimp attack in Connecticut, February 16, 2009. Stamford, Connecticut.
It was a normal Monday afternoon. Sandra Harold, 70, owned a chimpanzee named Travis, 200 pounds, 14 years old, lived like a person. He wore clothes, brushed his teeth, drank wine, and ate at the table. Everyone in town knew him. That day, Sandra's friend Charla Nash came over to help get Travis back inside the house. He'd taken her car keys and was roaming the yard. When Charla stepped out of her car, Travis charged her, full speed. He went straight for her face and hands. Sandra grabbed a shovel, hit him again and again, nothing. She stabbed him with a kitchen knife, still nothing. Charla was unrecognizable within minutes. When cops arrived, Travis ran at the patrol car, smashed the mirror, and tried to open the door. The officer fired 4 shots, killing him on the spot. Charla Nash survived, but lost her eyes, nose, lips, and both hands. She later got one of the world's first face transplants. Investigators found Travis had been given Xanax that day and had shown aggression before. The attack triggered new laws banning private ownership of apes in several states. He wasn't a monster. He was a wild animal raised to think he was human. And then one day, he remembered he wasn't.
Lion Safari in South Africa, June 1st, 2015. Gauteng Lion Park, South Africa.
It was a warm Monday afternoon outside Johannesburg. 22-year-old Catherine Chappelle, a tourist from Chicago, was on a safari drive through Lion Park. The rules were everywhere. Keep windows closed at all times. She didn't. Around 2:30 p.m., she rolled down her window to snap a picture of a lioness lounging by the dirt road. The guide warned her seconds before it happened. Too late. The lioness suddenly stood, circled the car, then lunged through the open window in one clean move. The animal clamped her jaws on Catherine's neck, dragging her halfway out of the car. The driver jumped out, trying to beat the lion off with his hands. She turned and clawed him too. By the time rangers arrived with rifles, Catherine was unconscious, bleeding out. She died before the ambulance reached the hospital. Park staff later said she'd been in the safe viewing zone, but the moment that window opened, the lion didn't see a tourist. It saw prey. After the attack, Lion Park added fences, more signs, and mandatory guides for all vehicles. One photo, one mistake, and a wild animal did exactly what it's built to do: close the distance and kill.
Blackfish incident precursor, February 20th, 1991. Sealand of the Pacific, Canada.
It was a cold Wednesday in Victoria, British Columbia. Kelty Byrne, 20, a marine biology student and part-time trainer, had just finished a show at Sealand of the Pacific. She slipped near the edge of the orca tank, the one that held 3 killer whales, Haida, Nootka, and Tilikum. She fell into the water. Witnesses said she surfaced right away, trying to climb out. Then one whale, Tilikum, the biggest, grabbed her foot and pulled her under. The other 2 joined in, passing her between them. Trainers threw life rings and food to distract the whales, but they ignored it. Kelty surfaced once, gasping, saying, "I can't get free." Then she was pulled down again. The attack lasted nearly 10 minutes before the pool went still. It took staff 2 hours to recover her body. The investigation found the whales were kept in a small, dark pool and trained through food deprivation. Sealand shut down within months. Its orcas sold to SeaWorld in the U.S. Tilikum later killed 2 more people, including trainer Don Brancho in 2010. This was the first warning. A 12,000-pound predator trapped in a tank had already shown exactly what it could do, and people still kept swimming with him.
Florida Everglades, July 1st, 2009. Oxford, Florida.
It was early morning, around 6 a.m. in a small Florida home. Jaren Hare and her boyfriend Charles Darnell woke up to silence. Their 2-year-old daughter Shayuna wasn't making a sound. They walked into her room and froze. Their 8-foot Burmese python, which they kept as a pet, had escaped its glass tank overnight. It was coiled tightly around the toddler, biting into her head. The tank had no lid, no lock, just a blanket on top. Deputies said the snake had slipped out and found the warmest thing in the room. By the time rescue arrived, Shayuna was dead. The python was thin and underfed, hadn't eaten in a month. Investigators said it mistook the child for food. The couple was charged with manslaughter and keeping a dangerous animal without a permit. At the trial, the sheriff said, "It's not the snake's fault. It's just being a snake." After the attack, Florida cracked down hard on exotic pet ownership. Burmese pythons were declared a prohibited species, banned from private homes. The story made national news, not because of the animal, but because of how easily it happened. A pet tank, a missing lid, and one hungry python turned into a fatal reminder that domesticated doesn't mean safe.
Disney's Grand Floridian Resort, June 14th, 2016. Disney's Grand Floridian Resort, Florida.
It was 8:30 p.m. at Disney's Grand Floridian Resort near Orlando. Families were outside watching an outdoor movie beside the Seven Seas Lagoon. A young couple stood on the beach with their 2-year-old son, Lane Graves. He was wading in ankle-deep water, just a few feet from shore. Out of the dark, an alligator surfaced. It lunged, grabbed the child, and dragged him into the lagoon. His father dove in instantly, fighting the gator, but it was too strong. The boy vanished underwater. Rescue teams and wildlife officers searched all night. The next afternoon, divers found Lane's body 15 yards from shore, completely intact. He had died from drowning and neck injuries. Disney closed all beaches the same day. Within a week, they added fences, warning signs, and began removing over 200 alligators from nearby lagoons. The family chose not to sue. Instead, they started the Lane Thomas Foundation, funding pediatric organ transplants in his memory. For years, the resort had posted no swimming signs, but nothing about alligators. That changed overnight. It was a quiet vacation night that turned into one of Disney's darkest moments. Proof that in Florida, the wild is never far, even when you're standing in front of a movie screen.